I call the honourable member Andrew Williams.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I hope that my voice holds out for this debate. Mr Speaker, this is not a bad government. Mr Speaker, it's not a mediocre government. Mr Speaker, this is an awful government. It's such a woeful government that it's difficult to know where do you start and where do you stop. Well, a good place to start is today. During question time today, our leader, Winston Peters, the Right Honourable Winston Peters, brought into the daylight just the latest in a long line of failures. We have exposed just how unethically the government has acted over the defunct learning media. We have revealed how the government changed the contract rules that is sending Learning Media Limited into bankruptcy, yet advancing capital to the company to repay Westpac, foreign-owned bank creditor, in full. Never mind the rest, never mind the others who will be left out of pocket, elderly investors who own the building that Learning Media was resided in. But the list of this government's failures is a long one. There are the recent revelations about falling education standards. This is deeply alarming to all those who have school-aged children. And I certainly can recall with my 3 children growing up in a period where we prided ourselves on our education system, and that continued right through with my last child only leaving college in the last year or so. And the school system was good, is good, and was continuing to provide for our young ones. Under this government, the cuts, the changes, the move to the likes of the charter schools, funding the likes of private schools with $36 million to the detriment of state schools. It all goes on, and this government has a woeful track record in terms of education. The country has had its best terms of trade in 40 years, but that's not something that this government can take credit for. It's because of our agriculture, because of our dairy, because of our forestry, our meat, our seafood, and all our other manufactured exports. The housing market is in crisis. The plight of first home buyers is absolutely dire, Mr Speaker, with Kiwis, good Kiwis, dreaming of home ownership and young ones sick to see what is happening. Just last week I attended an auction in my own suburb of Campbell's Bay on the North Shore and was aghast to see a small piece of land, less than 500 square metres, sell for over $1 million for a bare piece of dirt. And you know where the buyers were from, Mr Speaker. They were not good, honest, everyday working Kiwis. All the Kiwis got knocked out around the $800,000 mark, and it was sold to people from abroad. And we don't even know if those people from abroad had New Zealand residency. And this, no, it's not racist, it's what's happening, Mr Coleman, all over Auckland at the present time. New Zealand First stands for putting in place where you must be a New Zealand resident and you must be domiciled here in this country to purchase land. You cannot sit back in some foreign country, whether it be in Europe, whether it be in the United States, whether it be in Asia, and buy land from under the noses of good, hard-working Kiwis. Immigration is out of control. It's a total shambles, with young New Zealanders having to contend with tens of thousands of immigrants in a very weak market for jobs. And for the people of Christchurch, they must endure a stumbling, bumbling recovery of their city, and the government's taken a bit of a bath this last weekend in Christchurch East, where people are still in dire straits in Christchurch East. And while the government has plans to rejuvenate the CBD, pull down perfectly good public libraries, pull down perfectly good other buildings so they can build their convention centre down in Christchurch, while people in the eastern suburbs are still suffering. And let us remember some of the other many fiascos this government has brought about. The likes of South Canterbury Finance, where they allowed a blowout of $800 million and six months to go by while they turned a blind eye while more investments were being made in South Canterbury Finance. By giving $30 million to Rio Tinto without making sure there was an assurance of job security for the future for the people of Southland. By being responsible for approving the absolute abomination that is Nova Pay and allowing that hideous situation to continue, and where teachers in this country are still suffering by disruption to their pay cycles. by giving Warner Brothers $67 million for a movie that grossed over $1 billion worldwide, when a loan would have seen the taxpayers' advance secured. Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Minister Paula Ben.